We are back on the Insider series. Most artists don't fail because their music's bad. They fail because no one explains how the industry actually works. Today, I'm sitting down with John Black, artist manager, talent manager, insider, and the guy behind BLOC. It's basically Linktree on steroids. It will actually help artists get paid money. We're going to dig deep into money, managers, labels, and leverage. All the stuff artists are scared to ask. They don't want to look unprofessional, but today we turn that around. And this is what we're going to go in with. John, I'm going to really test you here. That's my
Go for it.
job.
Remember, it is 6 p.m. on a Monday, but go for it. Yeah.
to get the absolute most out of it. What's the biggest lie artists believe about getting signed to a manager?
The biggest lie. Oh, the biggest lie about getting signed to a manager. I mean, it's really difficult getting signed to a manager these days, just like labels and publishers. Everybody wants to see some traction, some movement. Although you do sometimes get lucky, someone just finds you and signs you. So I don't know what's the biggest lie. You've caught me on that one. Yeah.
That's my job, John. It's my job
Yeah.
today to try and catch you out. How do you know when an artist is actually ready for a manager? So many people come to me and go, Josh, I'm ready now, but there'd be very different levels of where they are in their career. So in your opinion, when's the right time?
I mean, I've got a couple of developing acts that I manage, and I found these acts very early. Found them both on TikTok, which is kind of, one of them, I think I said to you, Josh, at one point, turned out to live at the end of my street. It was just the most random thing. I think TikTok was geotagging artists with managers at one point. And I don't know, when I see an act, the music's great, they don't have to be posting on socials every single day, but some presence on the socials really helps. Some sort of level of fan base, some engagement. And I will sometimes take the chance of taking an artist on very early if I just see that. But at the end of the day, for me, it does come down to the music because it all starts with the song.
The song is always the biggest asset, always, and it helps when you've got an engaged fan base and people wanting more. It always comes down to that asset. Well, what's an income stream that artists completely underestimate in your eyes?
Most artists I meet that are super early don't know anything about royalties. They sign up to DistroKid or TuneCore or something and paid from there. Well, they will get paid from there if they're getting any streams, but they don't know about the publishing income as well. So for writing a song, you get publishing royalties, and you've got to sign up with a body called PRS for music, and that will collect your publishing royalties. PPL will collect your performance royalties. So if you performed on a song, we'll collect your performance royalties. And that's one of the biggest things I think people miss on the revenue is they just don't know these platforms exist.
Absolutely. I think that is such an interesting point that to really think about from an artist perspective, because I've always been told with PRS, I think I was only a little bit of pocket chain going in there, but that can really build over time. And I always speak to people in the industry and they always tell me to look at it as a retirement fund.
Mm.
And that's a really good way of looking at it in the future. What should artists never expect a manager to do for them?
And in my case, I end up doing all sorts of things. I went to an artist's house one day, he called me up and said he just moved into a new flat. And he said, I keep getting these letters from the gas people and I need to send a gas reading. I don't know where the gas meter is. I drove up to his flat. It was like outside, somewhere, but find the gas meter. So, I don't know. That's a hard one for me. But I think you've got to work as a team. Whatever comes after the manager, whether it's a label, publisher, the artist and manager is the core team, and that should always be the core team. And I think it's more like a partnership. It's like a business partnership. The manager, I would never say was the boss.
Hmm.
The artist, I would say, I'll advise the artist best I can on every aspect of their career. And sometimes we'll disagree on things, but at the end of the day, the artist always got the final say. It's their face, it's their music that's out there in the public.
Absolutely. Really, really good point there.
Mm.
Talk to me about BLOC, John. Why did you look at Linktree and go, no, I can do better than this? Talk to me about some of the inspiration there, because
So
it's really powerful, actually, what you've created.
yeah,
Said I was wasting her time.
so I started Oh, I think there's. Oh, okay. I started in the music industry 25 plus, I don't know, 30 years ago. 25 years ago, I think it was. And there's no social media at the time. You could have a great selection of songs, walk into a record label, and if the label loved you, they'd sign you for six figures, and then you go and get a publishing deal the following week. But it's so much harder now. It's so much harder. And social media is everyone's on social media trying to do the same thing. And I think the people that come to people like LMS, like yourselves, are the ones that are, the clever ones that are going to get some help and some coaching and in how to do that properly and how to deliver the right content. But there's so much noise out there. We just wanted to create a platform that was more than a link tree. It was more than just having your links. You can collect email addresses. You can send the emails from within BLOC as well. So it is kind of like your form on the internet. It sort of replaces your website. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really important because a lot of artists come to me and go, Josh, how important is it owning your audience versus chasing streams? And Block's a
Mm.
really clever concept for that in terms of owning your audience. Can we monetize? Can we do direct to fans? And just how customizable it is compared to, like
Yeah.
you said, like a list of links for people that want to find out more, John. Where can they look? Where can they see?
So BLOC XYZ.
Hmm.
It's as simple as that. Block.xyz is the website.
Absolutely. Okay. What was what was the moment you knew an artist was about to break? Has there been a certain moment in your career, John, where you knew before anyone else, you could just tell what separated that artist?
Um, I mean, I managed an artist when I first came into the music industry, and I'd just come out of the oil industry, so I didn't know much about the music industry. I was at the time I was building websites for musicians, bands like Destiny's Child and All Saints and Beautiful South. Didn't know anything about management. But met this girl in a pub in Camden one night. Turned out she was also from Aberdeen, Scotland.
Mm.
Together with my pig farmer friend from Dorset, we managed this girl together. And I just heard one of the songs she had, and I just went, "That's a number one single. That's going to go to number one." Anyway, we couldn't get a record deal. Nobody was interested. We got some investment from a fisherman in Orkney. I think you've maybe heard this story, Josh. So now you got the pig farmer, the oilman, and the fisherman, and we had some money, and we put the single out ourselves. We released ourselves, which was very unusual for this was like 21, 22 years ago,
Mm.
and it charted at 52, and we thought, well, that's okay. And I'm telling everyone the week it was out, that's going to go to number one. You just know sometimes when you hear a song, if you can work it in the right way. Anyway, it didn't go to number one. It stayed at 52, dropped. And, 12 months later, we came up with an idea to do some webcasting from the artist's basement. This was just before YouTube.
Mm.
So we got some equipment in, we got some live streaming set up. We called this the World Tour from Tooting. We did 21 consecutive nights. And we took a journalist along the journey with us because of why we were doing this, because the artist was driving up and down the country in a Ford Focus. It would break down. She'd perform to two men and a dog in a pub every night. And we thought, let's do it from the comfort of our own home and see who we can reach.
Yeah.
So the first night we got 72 people tuned in, which we thought was incredible, way more than we'd had at any live gig. The next night, 140. The next day, the story came out and it caught fire. It was in all the press. It was everywhere. We were at BBC, Channel 4, Channel 5, Sky News, the following day NHK from Japan, Fox News, CNN. It went nuts from nowhere, just from absolutely nowhere. And then we signed a deal with RCA, which is part of Sony Music. 6 weeks later, we re-released that single that charted at 52, 12 months prior, and it went to number two.
Wow.
The following week, it went to number one. It stayed there for 2 weeks.
Mm.
And then the album also went triple platinum. It went to number one as well. And it was the biggest selling song of the decade in Australia that year. It was number one for 10 weeks. So, sorry, it was a long answer to the question you asked me.
Maybe, but I love stories like that where, people picture something is going to happen. It doesn't quite happen that way. Life throws these twists and turns, but the outcome does get there, just not how you thought it would. And you do see a
Yeah.
lot in the industry, don't you?
It took 12 months and it just came up with a crazy marketing idea. And this is where I always think artists often just think marketing's just social media, but it's not. It's kind of, I mean, it can be on social media, but it's coming up with something different. It's not just playing the song sometimes, you know?
Absolutely. Marketing is about creating a moment. I
Yeah.
absolutely hear that. What advice do you hate hearing? Sorry, what advice do artists hate hearing but need the most?
Oh, I mean,
Really testing you tonight, John.
the one thing I've got to say to a lot of artists is they put a single out and then they leave it too long before they put the next one out. And they feel that if I say to them, okay, we need to have we need to have 6 singles lined up before we even start this campaign. They feel that the pressure's on. This sounds like too much like hard work, you know? Um, but it is a business at the end of the day. It's the artist's business. It's their startup. They need to, they need to be across this. So that's one thing that I think artists get wrong and maybe don't like hearing when I kind of go, you've got to have all these singles finished. And like, well, we'll put this one out, but I'll work on the next one and it'll be ready in time. And it never is.
Absolutely. Okay, so having that prep and that flow of what's
Just
coming is important.
prep and strategy around everything you do. Yeah.
Absolutely. Guys, I'm going to ask my last question. I'm going to pass over to you guys. If you want to put it in the chat, if you want to put it on Discord, if you want to ask John face to face, this is going to be your time. My last question I wanted to ask John was, what's the difference between artists who get meetings and artists who get ignored even when the music's good?
One of the biggest things I say to artists is that the biggest thing a lot of artists ignore is networking. I just think networking is super important.
It's how we met.
Sorry?
It's how we met in London.
It is, yeah. We were at an event and we were networking. Yeah, absolutely. And there's events all around the country. There are music industry events in. I think Leeds is kind of the north's had a bit more of a music presence recently. There's labels setting up in major label in Leeds now. Yorkshire, I think it is, and Scotland as well. So you don't have to be in London, but there's a lot of events in London. Almost every couple of weeks there's a networking event. I think you did one recently, didn't you?
We did, yeah. Some
Yeah.
of the people in this call were there. Simon, DL were there. I think there's events all over. There's brilliant ones in Manchester, Brighton, but I can attract the biggest names in London, and that's just
Yeah.
the truth of it. I think for me in this country, Simon's very kindly put the block link in the chat. Simon, thank you for that. Katie's asked a question. She's asked, how can we find investment? There's no income in original music to invest back in without owning cover gigs. I always say writing my own music is the worst thing for profits. And how can you revitalize an album that hasn't had its moment yet? It's a great question,
Yeah.
Katie.
So in investment is there's various grants out there. There's PRS do one. There's Youth Music do a grant. The Arts Council also have a grant. There's all sorts of grants out there for upcoming artists, but you do need to have kind of got on that first step of the ladder and have something happening. The numbers can still be quite low, but you do need to have something happening. But if you're aware of PRS and PRS Foundation, that's where the grants come from there.
There's some background noise coming through. Hang on.
Oh yeah, somebody's got their mic on. So finding someone that believes in you and wants to invest in you is a really hard thing to do, and that's a really hard one. But as I said, if you can get some music out, you're starting to get some streams, you're building your followers, look at the grants that are available.
Yeah, and there's a
And
lot
around
out
it.
there. And what I remember having Hell Musician on one of these webinars, John, and it blew my mind. They said that there's a line you can call while filling in your application.
Yeah.
And you can literally call me like, well, what do you recommend I put in here? And they'll tell
Yeah.
you. It's not like they don't want to give it. It's finding the right ways of doing it. And I've worked with a guy called George Bow, one of our artists, for a very long time. And George was unsuccessful the first 4 times. And then I think he was successful his fifth, sixth, and seventh.
Yeah.
He really kind of he would go back and ask wine and ask these questions and go meet on their working nights to find the answers they want. An artist has asked me on Discord, they've said, what data should artists pay attention to that most completely ignore?
I mean, I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to data. I literally look at everything. I want to know, however, data is limited on some of the platforms. And Spotify for artists, you can tell where your fans are. You can tell how old they are. You can see how many times people are listening to a specific song, if they're listening to it more than once, etc. You kind of average over your fan base. You just don't know who those fans are. But I do find it useful to know what the demographic is from platforms like Spotify for artists. And you've also got Apple for artists, you've got Amazon for artists, and those are just two. I'm just going to say now, those are two platforms that a lot of artists ignore. Everyone just goes to Spotify, and they've got Spotify for artists, and they're looking at the numbers on there because it's the only platform with the live numbers updated every 24 hours on the streaming platform. But you can also go to Amazon for artists and pitch your music for playlists like you can with Spotify.
Absolutely. Yeah. Really, really key looking at the data.
But if you yeah, but just to continue that, if you can collect email addresses, that's the most valuable thing you can have.
Absolutely. Questions coming in thick and fast for you, John. I need to keep up here. DL, who has just been nominated for Acoustic Country and Folk Act of the Year, has asked, how do you work with artists to improve their live gigs? Is that part of your strategy?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'll go into a rehearsal studio. We'll kind of brainstorm. We'll come up with ideas for how we can turn it into more of an entertaining show than just, nobody wants to come and see the album get played, song by song as they hear it in the album. People want bits in the middle. You want to kind of get your chat sorted out, what you're going to say in between each song. Really useful to tape down some bits of paper next to your mic stand, one with a set list and one with some chat notes, So yeah, it's something I do get involved in. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's really important. At the end of the day, your music's your asset, don't it? And you won't tell you any different. Absolutely. It's going to be very important. Simon, lovely Simon, has asked, how would an artist like ourselves get to the point of having a meeting with someone in your position? Artists like my act have had 2-year plans or timeline ready to fire out, including remarketing previous songs, music video release plans, and a very strong live act. How would we get someone like you to a show? Just have that initial meeting.
I mean, finding the managers isn't the most difficult thing in the world. Sometimes you can go to artists' social media profiles and you can look at their email link, and sometimes it's half the time it usually links through to a manager, or you can have a Google, and then it's easy to find people these days. I mean, if I get an email from an unknown artist, I'll always respond. It depends when it comes in. I might go, okay. I always say I'm never looking for something, but things just land in front of me sometimes, and I can't ignore it, and I've got to go to a show and see them. So it's just dropping people an email.
Yep, shoot your shot. Yeah, it's a numbers game, isn't it? Sometimes it is a numbers game.
Dropping 100 people an email. Yeah.
Katie's asked, a lot of musicians are moving away from Spotify. How will this affect grassroots artists?
I mean, so Spotify pay very low amount of money per stream. But I've got a developing artist that is now more than paying the rent every month from his Spotify income.
Yeah.
Because he's just worked consistently, through it. And 150,000 monthly streams maybe doesn't sound like a lot, but that's about, with this particular artist, about 500,000 streams. That's monthly listeners, 150 monthly listeners. But it works out about 500,000 monthly streams. And when you add that up and you add the Apple and the YouTube and all the other bits in, and the royalties coming from PRS for the streaming, PPL, it's like it's a wage now, However, I know it is really hard at the beginning. You've got platforms like Bandcamp where you can sell things directly. You can now get vinyl pressed on demand. Elastic Stage is the company that do that.
Yeah, we're partnered with them on the Backstage Pass, actually, and they're brilliant.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, amazing. And I've had a couple of artists use Elastic Stage, and they're getting income. They're making more from one sale than they do from 1,000 streams, for example.
Something special about physical merchandise of bands, and super fans want to have it. It's collectible. It's I want to touch it. I want to be able to see it. I think it can be spun in a really positive way. Simon said, you mentioned you were data driven. When it comes to the project management side of a music artist, what platforms or formats tend to be best received? What data requirements would you have?
Sorry, I've missed that completely.
So regional one has said, you mentioned the data, you're data driven. When it
Oh,
comes to the project management side of a musical artist, what platforms or formats tend to be best received? And what data requirements would you have?
so the project management, are we talking about project management software or something, or
Simon, do you want to jump in?
how?
Yeah, sure. So I guess any kind of release pattern, any kind of marketing strategy or campaign, what kind of sort of data requirements do you have for that from an artist
Oh,
or your metrics?
yeah. I mean, I will. I don't know if there's data requirements for a campaign as such. Email addresses, as I said, as I keep saying, is the number one thing. If you're putting any events in around there, it's good to see from the other platforms where your fan base is, and your best timings for social posts, etc., which LMS will be amazing at helping you with. Yeah, I mean, just put a solid strategy together and use the data where you can. But in the early days, as I said, email is the best data you can have to reach your fans. 100%.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Lucy's asked, I've got an EP lined up this year and was thinking of contacting some managers. When do you think you'd be the best time to do this? Before or after the EP comes out?
I'd do it after. Yeah. But I wouldn't just put the I'm sure you've got a plan, but I wouldn't just put the EP out. I would put, if it's got 5 tracks on the EP, I'd do maybe 4 singles and then bundle it into an EP with a 5th one on at the end of it, or put at least 3 singles out ahead of the EP, because you want to kind of build a bit of a following.
Absolutely. John, I know we spoke last week off call, and you were talking about some opportunities you were trying to find an artist for a certain show. How much can you tell us about that?
I am developing a TV drama series that's going to be shot in the States, and we're looking for a artist for that. Outgoing artist. It's going to be a lot easier to train an artist, music artist, how to act, get them acting coaching than it is to get an actor how to play guitar and sing. Unless you're Timothy Chalamet and you're doing a Bob Dylan film, who he did that brilliantly, But yeah, we're looking for a male, late teens, early 20s, great singing voice, can play guitar. That's it. Yeah, simple as that. I can probably even put a link in here to a Google form. So if anyone in here is interested or knows of anyone they want to share this link with.
Yep, throw that in the chat. We'll have a look through. There's so many questions coming through. If you're on, Terry has asked, having released my debut single, being in the industry, I'm curious to see what feedback you would offer of mine. Would you be open to giving it a listen? It's always good to have some different feedback.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put my email address in here as well. I don't mind.
Look at that, lucky people that join the webinar. You get the email address. Well done.
So if anybody wants to email me, yeah, just send it through.
Beautiful. We've got another one here. Hi, John. I'm an 18-year-old artist from Ireland. I've seen some success on Spotify, and I'm starting to grow a bit on socials. But there isn't a whole load of support for upcoming artists other than just playing gigs in bars where I'm from. How do you recommend I try and get my name out there, being based in Ireland where there isn't a massive scene to constantly be involved with?
I mean, if there's not a huge music scene where you are, this is the first band I managed when I really didn't know what I was doing. It's actually a boy band from Ireland. They were spread all over the place. We've got 3 top 10s in the UK though. It didn't do too badly. So I mean, live streaming. Back to my artist that went and did 21 consecutive nights, 21 night world tour from Tooting. You can live stream your gigs. On TikTok's probably the best platform to do that right now. And don't ignore YouTube as well. It's obviously, it's a huge channel. I think you get some software where it can simultaneously stream over different platforms at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But don't just go on and stream a gig just randomly 8 p.m. tonight, market it, kind of promote it, make sure there's people going to come into that gig, promote it like you would a gig in real life.
I always say to artists, you've got, followers, listeners, super fans.
Mm.
Have your super fans, whether it's a mailing list, whether it's a Discord, whether it's a Instagram group chat, make people feel part of your journey, and they will run through brick walls. They'll come to every show, they'll buy every bit of merch. Make people feel special. Have
Yeah.
that community somewhere. And for that exact reason, John, Dale's asked, what are your tips for where artists spend their energy in terms of promotion? Where's the best place for an artist to put their energy?
I mean, the biggest music discovery platform is TikTok, as we just said.
Yeah.
It really is. But, think as to how you're going to. I see artists all the time going, stream my song or pre-save it or do this. And it's always asking the fans to do something. Do this, do this, do this. And I kind of feel like you can be a bit more subtle with some of that in the build up to a release. You could just come up with a slightly more subtle marketing plan. Don't even say there's something coming out at the beginning. Just kind of start to drop posts around what you're doing, use bits of the music in it, so that they feel a bit more, you're not just always trying to sell them something, and you get some artists that just come on socials when they are trying to pitch something as well.
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Dio's asked, what did the artist do to work consistently to build up the streams? Like the artist who's paying the rent with Spotify streams. A good friend of mine, literally today, John, hit 1 million monthly listeners, and he told me it pays him about 4.5 grand, 5 grand-ish a month. It's allowed him to quit his job, do music, and invest in his music. But what I love, his name's Deeps. He's from Portsmouth. He's done very well for himself, and I love working with him. He's such a genuine guy. But he was so disappointed when his biggest song came out. First year did awful. He kept pushing it. Second year did okay. The third year of him promoting it, it blew up on TikTok, went crazy, and it's allowed him to quit his job and do music. And he says that even though he's bringing out new music all the time, he doesn't promote singles. He promotes his catalog. And it blew my. I've never heard an artist say that before. What's your take on Dale's question?
Well, the thing is, this is another mistake a lot of artists make: is they put a song out, they promote it they promote it in the run up to the song. When the song comes out, they might promote it for a couple of weeks, and then they're on to the next one. But there's a massive, massive world out there of people that haven't heard anything you've done. So keep promoting everything you put out. If you've got one song in particular, like your friend there, and you think it's the biggest song you've got, keep promoting it, because there's so many people. I had an artist whose numbers went down a bit on streaming, and we were going to put a new release out. And I said to him, let's pick the best song, your favorite song, the one you like the most, and just start promoting it again. And it was a song that had come out, I think, 18 months prior, and it increased his streams by about 40% over 4 weeks.
That's it. Like the Deeps one, I can't remember the exact numbers, guys. It'll tell me off for not remembering. But like first year was 3,000, second year was 12,000. I've just looked; it's on 25.5 million now.
Yeah,
Is insane.
It's mad. But this artist that's, as I said, that could pay the rent now. It very rarely does happen, and it's not the best example for this chat, but he doesn't do very much. Posts very rarely, but that can sometimes work, because when he does post, it means something. It means a lot more than the artist that's posting 5 times a day. And
as well, I think it's important for us to understand that that attitude of don't give up just because it's had a bad year, 2 years. You've got to keep going, John.
And again, this year is increased even more, and he's not even in the country. He's out of the country for 3 months, and he's just like, it's still going up, and it's like, and it's his oldest song. It's one of his oldest songs that's actually getting the most streams.
Madness. Right, John, I've done a lot from this call. Thank you so much for coming on. I hope you have, and we'll thank John in a second. Before you go, John, is there anything you'd like to say, promote, talk about to our lovely artists here?
So when I was talking about BLOC, we were talking about talking to your artist and kind of having your super fans in there. BLOC has also got a chat function in it as well. And it's also got a section in there where if people join your BLOC, they can see exclusive content. So if you want to just show your fans something that's not posted to any other platform, they've got to log in. They've got to, create a BLOC account to kind of get in there. It's all totally free right now as well. So that was it. That's my last plug.
Incredible, guys. Do it. Can we all say a massive thank you to John? He's very kindly given you his email, j3w.co. Make sure you get that if you need him. Guys, say a big thank you. John, thank you so much.
No problem. Welcome.
You're getting kisses in the chat.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
That's been the Insider series. We'll catch you next time.